Okay, so since we have no other person, I'm going to go ahead to introduce our speaker for today. And today we're going to be speaking on digital monetization of musical works and sound recording. I know this is a very interesting topic. Everybody wants to know how this is done or want to learn more about this. And yeah, we have done justice to this by bringing um one of the top industry professionals to talk or give us more insight about this particular topic. So we have Foza today. She's someone I personally look up to as somebody I admire too. So having her today, I'm so happy because I know that everybody here is going to experience her today. Okay. So our speaker for today is Oyin Consola. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. Fawemi, popularly known as Foza. She is currently the lead consultant at Zeta Oracle Limited, a creative economy legal and business solutions company in Africa. Foza is an award-winning lawyer and the immediate past president of Digital Music Commerce and Exchange Limited, an intellectual property valuation management and administration company serving Saharan Africa. Over the last 9 years, she has served as a legal advisor and business consultant for some of Africa's most reputable entertainment companies and artists like Chocolate City Music, Premier Records, Boomplay Music, Infinix Nigeria, K1D Ultimate, Tenny, Adekunle Gold, the SARS Academy, SARS, and more. Please, let's give it up to our speaker for today. Use the interaction emojis. I can only see GB Chris. If you're happy to see our speaker for today, please give it up, give it up, give it up. Use the virtual applause. Use the virtual applause as we welcome um our speaker for today. Um, Hi Fuza, welcome, and yeah, the floor is yours now. She's here. Okay. Are you speaking? I can't hear you.
Can you hear me?
Okay, yeah, I can hear you now. Please
Okay.
go ahead.
All right. Um. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Fuza Fawemi, and I am a creative economy lawyer, based in Nigeria, functioning in Africa. It's good to be here today. Thank you, Papa Bolu Academy, for having me here today. So I've been given the task to have a conversation with you guys as regards monetization of musical works and sound recording in the digital space. So just help me in the so I know where to start this conversation from. I'm aware that there's been series of conversations in the last 4 weeks, and that conversation has spanned across, taking you through the basics of, the music industry. So I think my first question would be, what is um does everyone here understand uh what musical works are and sound recordings are?
Okay, please.
Yeah, I'm checking the comment section. um all right, it seems that we don't know, so I'm just going to go straight to it. So in the music industry, you have the compos you have we have two basic components that we deal with for exploitation in terms of the music. We refer to it as musical works and sound recording. Now, what is musical works? Musical works are basically um, compositions that an author is someone that composes compositions, and that would be your lyrics, your instrumental, your melodies. That is what we refer to as musical works. So these are the elements that come together to make, you know, a a piece of music. So musical works are, we'll take the example of jollof rice, for example. You want to make jollof rice. You have your ingredients such as rice, you have your white rice, you have your oil, you have your salt, you have your water, you have your whatever it is, right? Those are the ingredients you need to come together to make jollof rice. Lyrics, let's call lyrics salt. Let's call melodies um oil, and let's call rice instrumental. Now, when you add those things together, the results that you have is what we call jollof rice. Now, under in the music industry or under the law, we refer to that as the sound recording. Sound recordings are the combination of all the musical works coming together to make a um to 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 come together to come into a medium that can be seen, felt, or heard, and that's what we refer to as sound recording. So under the law, your MP3, your WAV files are what we refer to as sound recording. When you work in the industry, you refer to it as masters. So sound recordings are also referred to as masters in the industry. Under the law, it's called sound recording. Under when you're talking in the industry, you refer to it as masters. So when you hear people have conversation of my master's right, that's what they're referring to. When you hear people talk, oh, I'm the owner of the instrumental, oh, I'm the owner of the lyrics, under the law is referred to as musical works. Now, how do you make money, as the owner of a musical work, or the owner of a sound recording, or the author of a musical work, or the author of a sound recording? The first question is, who is defined as an owner, right? Or the author. Now, when you refer to musical work, the author is the person that composes, right? So the guy that writes the lyrics, the guy that composes the music that becomes the instrumental, the guy that composes the melody. The key element of owning or having authorship in a musical work is composition. It's very important to note that, because there is performance and there's composition. Foza can write music and give it to Jide to perform. It doesn't mean that Jide is the author of that musical work. So it's very important to note who is an author, and who is a performer. When you're referring to authorship in musical works, it is the underlying factor there is composition. You have to prove who composed what. Now, under the law, when we talk about sound recording, who owns the sound recording? The guy that organizes everybody to come together to have that result of what you refer to as an MP3 file or WAV file is who you refer to as the owner of the sound recording. In most instances, it's the record label that calls the producer, calls the songwriter, you know, rents the studio, calls the instrumentalist or whatever it is. Say everybody come together and come and produce a song for Jide the artist. In that instance, the owner of that master recording is the person that did that gathering together. This is important to note because the rights that you own is what gives you the opportunity to exploit, which gives you the opportunity to monetize. If you do not own rights, you cannot monetize. So you have to understand at what point, what rights do I have, and how can I use those rights to make money. Now, once you've established whether you own or you're the author or whatever it is, then you can now start making decisions on how you want to exploit. Exploitation of rights is purely from a business point of view. There's no hard or fast rule. There is no template that is the best. There's no template that is worst. Whatever template works for your situation at that point in time is what works best for you. What you commonly would see in the industry is people would make decisions based on their present situation, and when that situation turns in 2 years 3 years time, they come out and say, oh, this person was wicked to me, oh, this person was mean to me, this person stole, oh, this person, nah. It's literally just business. The same way you go to the market and the market store person is selling, let's say, for example, last week, 2 weeks ago, Bua Cement came and said they were dropping the prices of cement from 7.5 to 3.5. You went to this retailer. Once a company makes that kind of announcement, what do you expect will happen? Everybody's going to rush because there's a price drop. So you go to the market and there is Okafor. Okafor has stocked only Dangote cement. You as a customer or you as a business person won't go and buy Dangote cement. You go and buy Bua because, one, you have information that is superior and you are maximizing whatever capital that you have at that point. That's how business works. That's how music business is. It is the immediate maximization of capital, to predict whatever is going to happen in future. You have to also always understand that the music business is an extremely capital intensive business. So the people that you are going to be having conversations with that would remove value from their pockets to get the value of your potential, you have to have gotten to a point where you can explicitly sell them the value of this potential. At every point in time, when you create a new piece of music or you render a service you create, especially if you create a new work, that new work is a potential, um it's a potential revenue source. Once you've created, nobody says that, nobody is arguing with you that you don't own it. Nobody is telling you that, it's not your right. Nobody's saying that. But what the industry is saying to you, or what that asset that you've created is, there are two potential things that will work. It is either going to make money or it's either not going to make money. That potential of deciding whether it will make money or not, it is there's no hard and fast rule to it. It is purely based on, there's a little bit of mathematics and science that can be put into it, and there's the last part that is just left on intuition and whether the market would accept it or not. So if someone comes and says, the rights in this musical work, I want to, buy it, or I want to license it for a period of 3 years at 500 naira, right? And you give that person at 500 naira, let's even say for forever, right? That person has taken a risk or a bet saying that, I know that this can either work or not. It's a 50-50 chance. There's no 70-30, it's not 60-40, it's 50-50. It's either I win or I lose, right? You as the owner have the decision to say, oh, I really believe that this thing will work. I really believe it, so I'm not giving it to you at this price. I'm going to give it to you at that price. What I'm trying to say is that at every point in time, you have to understand that the position that you are in is what gives you the business leverage to negotiate. You can have what it looks like in the industry and say, okay, this person, you can have a comparative analysis and say, oh, this person licensed at this amount, this person sold at this amount, this person sold. Doesn't mean that if I'm coming, I'm going to go now say, oh, I have to follow what those people have done. It's basically on how much can you sell me to bring out the value from my pocket to pay for this asset that you've created. How do you sell these assets? One, you can either license. There are two types of license: exclusive license and non-exclusive license. Exclusively licensing, you can say, oh, I'm only going to give one person this instrumental to use for a lifetime, I'm going to take some cash up front, and I'm also going to take some percentage, that it will keep on generating income for me, right? Depends on the type of deal you do. Non-exclusive is, instead of giving one person, usually that upfront fee the person pays me would, if I was giving someone exclusively, that upfront fee would probably be, say, let's say $5,000, right? Because I'm giving it to one person and I'm taking a risk that uh this person, it might either work with this person or it might either not work with this person. That's the concept of exclusive. So the other person that is exclusively licensed from you is also saying, I'm willing to take a bet or a gamble that this will work. So I'm putting this amount of money down and saying that only leave it with me and let me use that asset that you've created. Non-exclusive is, oh, I'm more of a safe bet guy or a low risk guy. I'm going to give out this asset and 100 people can use it at the same time. It doesn't matter. Let them use it. I'm going to spread my tentacles, and I'm going to, instead of collecting 5,000 from one person, I'll collect 100 naira from each person, because I'm spreading. So out of that 1,000 people that are giving it at 100 naira to the same assets, one of them might peak, right? And they can do whatever they want to do with it, right? So that's an example of how to exploit. You can either license. Another example is, which is becoming more common, is outright selling. So in outright selling, it's like, all right, my present condition says that I have, let's say, for example, 2,000 works that I've created. I can afford to let one go at, an upfront cash. The theory behind that is what finance people will tell you, is that money now is better than potential money in future, right?
Okay, hi Foza. If you can hear me, I think we lost you.
Cash
Um,
that.
Hello.
Yeah, hello.
Okay, I think we lost you for a bit. You can continue.
Yeah. So instead of me playing the bet of, oh, um I'm going to potential, be like, no, I can't afford potential now. If there's one person that wants to give me a lump sum and take it forever, fine. Look at it as, you have a property, a house, right? What can you do with the house? One, you can do shortlets. That is your non-exclusive license. You can do um Airbnbs for a longer stay. So that's more of like, also like non-exclusive. You can do your lease, right? Lease is when you give someone for a long period of time. That's like an exclusive license. Then, or you can either just outright sell it, right? Which is when you sell the house completely. Now, where are the platforms that you can exploit? Digitally, since we're talking about digital monetization, the every day we're coming up with new ideas and new ways to monetize works, right? You can, under musical works, your best option is to find a publisher that understands your music or understands your assets, understands your vision, and works with you to package what you have and markets it, and puts it in people's faces that can potentially use it for different things. What are the different areas or platforms how musical works can be used? You can use it in films, you can use it in games, you can use it in short form content, you can use it in um you can use it in on your, basically, like platforms where people just go and listen to, as opposed to downloading, that streaming. Um essentially, use of music, when you talk about publishing, it's called use of music. So in any format you think that music can be used, your publisher works with you to ensure that that works, and it puts it out there. So I'll give you an example. You're a jazz instrumentalist, and you you um you create jazz instrumentals, right? Now, in that process, you know that jazz is not the most popular in Nigeria. It's probably more popular in South Africa, and there are a lot of restaurants, or there are a lot of um, restaurants, or like bars, or like films that are coming out, or like YouTube contents that are coming out to that uses jazz instrumental. Yourself and your publisher and your manager will sit down together and say, okay, these are the platforms that we feel that would use this instrumental that we are creating, and you do a pitch to those people, and those people, at some point, if the pitch is sold and they enjoy the pitch, they say, okay, I'm going to license this piece of music for a period of time, on to use on this platform, to use on that platform, or whatnot, right? Same with games. If you are someone that games a lot and you also play music, you know how, like, if you're playing Minecraft, you can say, oh, I can create Afrobeats, music that fits Minecraft, or that fits Tomb Raider, or that fits this, or that fits that. You sit down with your publisher, package it, you send out, right? These are options and ways of how to make money. Same with Nollywood. You look at Nollywood and say, oh, I want to create music for a girl that is walking through the park. Her boyfriend just broke up with her and she's trying to kill herself. I'm going to create this type of music to fit that mood. You sit down with your publisher and send out to, the Nollywood filmmakers that are available to consider the music, continually make money, right? Your publisher will ensure that you're registered in all the certain bodies that and the monies that come from it, that trickles down, is making money for you. And that's an example of digital for your musical works. When it comes to sound recording, the first things first is distribution on your um you use your distributor to, so you have Apple Music, you have, Spotify, you have Boomplay, you have all them laws. You put out the music out there, right? Now, in the world right now, I think as of 2 years ago or 3 years ago, Spotify said that there were 60,000 songs being released every day on Spotify. So that means that's globally. So that means that in a week, as at then, in a week, 7 days, that's that you have almost 420 songs being released every day, and that's like almost like 1,000 to 2,000 songs being released every day. That's like 2 years ago. Now, probably most likely because everybody and their daddies are singing right now. So probably that number has gone up by three, by four. So what it now means is that you are competing, or your record is competing with a minimum of 3,000 people a day, trying to get the attention of the market. So for you to make the most out of digital monetization of masters, you have to be incredibly um, creative with your marketing. That's why some of you would put your music out, then you start crying and saying, "Oh, nobody's listening. I've not made any 1 naira from it. They did not give me playlists. They did not give me this. They did not give me that. That's why I'm not making money." Your masters records, whether you like it or not, like I said from the beginning, is a capital intensive market, right? Now, that's why you have record labels or people that put money in to say that they want to invest, to take the load of marketing off the creative, to say, okay, we're gonna put down. So, for example, you want to get 1 million streams on YouTube, you're looking at spending almost $5,000 in digital ads to be able to get 1 million streams on YouTube. And after you get that million stream on YouTube, does not mean that you are going to make that $5,000 back. You're probably making $2,000 back from that. So the math doesn't exactly tally. But what that does is that you know that you have 1 million streams on YouTube, or 1 million streams on Spotify, or 1 million streams on Apple. Note that there are specific platforms that are money making as opposed to the others. What you can do is sit with your team and make a business and say, look, if one single record that I have, I'm able to make 1 million, 6 to 7 platforms. The projection on 4 songs, I'm able to 20 million streams, which means that I'll be seeing X revenue. An investor is that give me that you can own 220 and we can make revenue in perpetuity. So one records is look master records as electoral for investment. Your team sit down together, do a business case, financial projection. So you are treated as real time used to mark up X and break convince someone to say that if you put your in 10 years you're going to make back $50,000, right? One way to monetize. This money is expensive, this thing is expensive. After you've tried to push it for like 2-3 years, and all the burden on my own, I want to sell off 50, sell off 30% of my shares. I want to sell off to a distributor, an investor that has need to do marketing in exchange is the value of the IP so that everybody can eat. Just say outright they want to sell. Another option is now to say, okay, this song was a viral hit 20 years ago. I still have it as an asset. You and your team sit down together and say, okay, call the new guys to sample the record, to say, okay, instead of the record just sitting down where it is, let them sample the record so that I can now have, instead of me spending more money to market the old record, these new guys can use the old record in their new works and be the one to bear the financial burden of marketing it, which now means that once people like it, they begin to stream or they begin to download or they begin to buy the old records, and I'm able to earn from the old records and also able to earn from the new records because I'm able to sample it to a newer guy, whether for exclusively or non-exclusively, whether it's for an upfront fee or whether it's for a percentage. Once again, the underlying thing you need to understand is that business is what you get from business is what you can negotiate, not necessarily what you are worth at every point in time. So never enter into with your assets saying, oh, they're cheating me, I want to own my master's rights, I want to that. If at that point your leverage is that if I give you this much right, I'm able to build more leverage so that the next negotiation I enter, I'm able to keep more rights. It's better than you holding 100% of nothing or 100% of a potential that can either work or not. The idea is that through licensing, through sales of these rights, you are able to determine and say, you are able to sorry, 1 second. Yeah, can you hear me, please?
Yes, please go ahead.
So, alright. So, all through this, you are able to say, I am.
Yeah, I think. Hello. I think it's really noisy from your end.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Alright, sorry, the generator just came on. I can't help that at this point. Um, so you either have to make a decision to say to evenly split the risk or the potential risk at every point in time to have a balanced view of where you're going to, right? Other ways to exploit from musical works, you have you depending on the type of rights or the type of license or the kind of deal you've done, you have the potential of exploiting lyrics as, so for example, you write the lyric that is, say, let me see, um like Charlie Poppy will say, men mount, right? It has the liberty to say, okay, men mount is very popular in the industry. I can make specified um, merchandise from it. So I can make wristbands out of it. I can make T-shirts out of it. Um, I can make face cap out of it using that lyrics and putting it, and people are able to buy and brand, right? Just like every other business, anybody can put anything on anything to sell, right? But the brand that is behind it, or the story that is behind it, is what drives the sale of it. So you have the opportunity, if the song or the music, that musical work has done so much. So for example, if you hear "You Are My African Queen," the first person you think of is Two Face. If Two Face now moves and says, okay, I want to do "You Are My African Queen" in NFTs, which is non fungible tokens on the digital space, you would see that people will buy it not because they've never heard "You Are My African Queen" or whatever. It's because they know that the value that is tied behind that lyric is the brand Two Face, the author Two Face that wrote or composed that lyric, right? So that's another opportunity, ancillary opportunity. These are not the main opportunities, but like these are like side opportunities from um that come from the idea of musical works and sound recordings, right? um because we're focusing on only digital, I'm going to like also explain how digital can move outside, right? You can do vinyl records for your masters. You can do, um you can do vinyl records, you can do your CDs, you can do your special edition of this, special edition of that, to monetize or to exploit. Now, I'm I just gave a framework of how and what are the things that you need to monetize. The industry grows at 20 light speed every year. Someone comes up with a new idea of how to exploit something. Um, so your own part is to understand what are the rights that I own, what is the extent of the rights that I own, how can I break down those rights um, to to fit the situation I'm in. So, for example, some people can come to you and say, oh, they want to buy your catalog, and you say, oh no, instead of buying my 100 songs, why don't you buy one song? Oh, instead of buying 100% of one song, why don't I give you 50% of it, right? um these are the ways that you go back and forth to um understand how to use your assets, like I said, to potentially make money in different ways. Now, just because I've said it does not mean that it's the easiest. Like I said, you're competing with almost 60,000 titles coming out every month, right? You're competing with 60,000 pieces of music being written every month. So, from a branding perspective, from a marketing perspective, you want to be sure and ensure that what you're creating, there's a unique selling point to it. There's a unique value being proposed to it. So you have these principles that are available. Some people will use it, will not work. Then they come back and say, "Oh, these people taught me rubbish. It's all a lie." Nah, like I also said, the industry is basically high risk, high reward. The key and trick to it is building a business team that is able to follow trend and work on those trends and use the principles that I just stated to maximize the trend. So yeah, I think that's basically almost just a summary. I'm going to be looking in the chat section for um your questions. and we can proceed from there. The other basic things are like, if you're a musician, meaning that you're an instrumentalist, you go into sessions, you get paid for that, and they pay you your money up front. Then, now, like I said in the beginning, if you compose, it's different from performance. So if you're a instrumentalist and the music director or the music producer in the room has already laid down chords and says, play it for me, play these chords for me, that's performance. So in that instance, you're not necessarily um entitled to a publishing share, right? You just performed. But however, if you enter the studio and the producer says, play as the spirit leads you, it means it's telling you to compose. At that point, you can ask for you can ask for your studio session fee, and you can ask for your publishing fee, right? Your publishing percentage. Another thing I failed to mention also is, it's not as popular yet, but it's another um avenue that people, as we saw in COVID, globally, everybody's still trying to perfect the right management system of that and how to make money from it. Is, you see people, you see on you can go when you go on your this especially happens on the platform called Twitch, where people um people are playing games, and you see like an artist or a record label or a composer can have a full-blown concert while people are playing games in virtual reality. Like I told you, these things, as we grow, as technology grows, there are different avenues to make money at every point in time. It is at what point at that present need, for us here in Nigeria, it would be you're going live on YouTube and doing a live performance on YouTube. So for example, I think it's on TikTok. When you go live on TikTok, people are able to gift you money, on the spot. So the question is, how can you put up your musical works or your assets or your sound recording in a manner where people enjoy the experience enough to give you 100 naira or give you 200 naira in a tough Nigeria? So it's not just as much as you making the piece of music or making the masters. It is how much of how much can you sell that piece of property to someone that they are convinced enough to bring out their 100 naira and their 200 naira in Tinubu's era to give it to you to say, okay, take cool, I enjoy what you just created. So that basically is the whole principles and the basic principles of how you can go about in monetizing your publishing works and your sound recording works at every point in time. The other intricacies of it, or which is breaking down and saying, oh, I don't want to give you for 20 years, I don't want to give it for 50 years, I don't want to give you all my rights, I want to give you some of my rights, I want to do, is that intricacy that you work out um with your business manager and also your lawyer that understands the climate of where you are. So when you're going into these conversations to exploit your music, the first thing you ask yourself is, what's the situation I am in, and what leverage and brand leverage or equity do I have to be able to enter into negotiations? What can I part with? What can I own? What am I interested in? And the main what is the main what is the main goal for me as the owner of this work? Is it that I'm hungry and I want to make money immediately, or I want to use this to do future investment? These are the questions that guide you in choosing what exactly and how exactly you want to exploit at the moment. Um, at that, I'm done, and I will be taking questions.
Okay, thank you very much for that. That was a wonderful session. Okay, guys, it's time to ask your questions. She's here to take all your questions. Please let's make it snappy because she has only 1 hour to stay with us on this call. So please go ahead with your question. You can type it, you can raise up your hand to ask your question. The floor is open to everyone now. Thank you. Okay. Please go ahead, Omaomi. Omami, can you hear me? Kindly
Hello,
unmute and
everyone.
ask your question. Hello.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much, Fosa, for the lecture. I really learned a lot. I just want to ask one or two questions around licensing your music. So I've seen some artists say they want to sell their entire catalog or they want to license. And then there are some companies who want to buy the music. Some of them foreign companies, some Nigerian companies. The foreign companies, is it okay for them to say that if they do a licensing agreement, there is a dispute or they have issues, it is that foreign company's law that they will use to resolve the dispute? Is that way, or supposed to be Nigerian law or under Nigerian courts that will resolve the issue?
So essentially, each contract chooses the law that they want to use to govern the contract. Um, Basically, what I do is, if you so for example, if I'm dealing with a company from the UK, I most likely would want to pick a neutral. The laws would require, or the way we are trained is to pick a neutral place where, as much as possible, I know is comfortable for my client, and as much as possible is also comfortable for the foreign client, but not in his own football turf. So, for example, it's like the way you play football. Two opposing sides wants to play. You won't necessarily play in their stadium, but you pick a central stadium where both parties can access. Now, for us as Nigerians, because there's peculiarity in how our copyright laws are, you want to be careful that you are not picking um, countries that are totally very far from what the provisions of our own Copyright Act provide. So, for example, you can't go and be picking laws from Germany or laws from France to decide your issue, because um, we're totally different in terms of the context of our laws. But if you are, for example, signing a contract with a French company, typically because they have the higher power, they have the higher bargaining leverage, and they also are the ones spending the most money and taking the most risk, you most likely would be um, you most likely would be negotiated, into picking a picking the French law to govern that contract. So what in that instance that is usually advised is, especially if there's a lump sum that is being involved, is that you also employ a local French lawyer to assist and work with your Nigerian lawyer to ensure that all the terms are properly explained and everybody understands what's going on before pen is put to paper. But each contract decides each contract decides what laws. It's not There's no hard and fast rule. Nobody says it must be Nigeria, nobody says it must be. It's purely down to negotiation.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much, Fuza, for that wonderful answer. Okay, we have Emmanuel Omazi. Please go ahead to ask your question. Emmanuel Omazi.
Okay, good afternoon. I really enjoyed the session. It's very impactful and educative. Okay, my question is, okay, how easy is it to get your music work licensed? And okay, if I want to do it in Nigeria, what is like the cost? What does it vary from? And how accessible is it to the average upcoming artist or musician?
Like I tell everybody, it's a game of how much are you in my face, how much do there are the concept of music publishing is basically because people are running business, especially if you're running a business in Nigeria. You are faced with fuel, you are faced with being a Nigerian, like to run a business. As much as it's cute to believe in upcoming talent, I also need to see value. And this is me being straightforward. I can sit down here and tell you, yes, send email to a publisher, they will pick your music, they will do this. But there was a time I do active music publishing and I receive a lot of works. Sometimes I spend close to 3 hours every other day listening to music, and I'm listening to the same set of nonsense. This person's bum bum is in the air. This person is downstairs. This person came from grass. He come to Greece. He's poor. His daddy is rich. The same set of music. Now I spent 4 hours listening to that. Then in that 4 hours, I heard somebody that is singing something that is extremely new and extremely different. E.g., I'll give you someone like Thames. You hear someone like Thames and you're just like, oh my God, this is extremely different from what I've been hearing. And that person decides and says, this is worth my time investing in. It's not because Thames daddy has money or Thames has access. It's basically there's a unique offering that Thames has decided to offer, right? So the other ones of my your bum bum is high, is not low. Is I have like 10,000 options to pick from that. So why should I pay attention to you? Like I said in the beginning, if you remember, the way my conversation has been here has been treating your music as a business. You want someone to notice you. It's the same way you go to the market, you go to Ebano store, or you go to. It's the first fish you see in front of you that you actually consider then before you start digging to find the other ones. The question now is the factors that make you leave the first thing you see on display and go further is, do you have the time to do that? Do you have the luxury to sit down and negotiate the best price at that point? Those are the things. So when you treat your music like that, it will help you to understand how to package and put it in front of everybody. I'm going to be point blank to you. I don't owe you shit. I don't owe you anything as an upcoming artist. In fact, it is like, as an upcoming artist, you are more liability and stress to me because there's 90% I'll never make my money back. And this is not that I'm saying, it's saying from personal experience. There's 90% I'll never make my money back. There's 95. The only thing is, I believe. God believes in me too. But I've worked my potential. And my potential has made money. So if you are going to come to me with potential, it has to be an extreme, unique selling point. My time, my money, and my resources. I also run a business. I answer to people and I'm going to now say, oh, I'm going to 10% access I have, or it's an upcoming talent. So it is how you package your music and whoever you're selling to. I'm going to invest this time. And for example, if I know someone at Netflix, almost 10 years building that relationship, give you access to that relationship coming. So you need to move from that mentality of how easy is the access. The access is not easy, I'll tell you straightforward, because you have to be coming to the table with value. And the value cannot just be, I have music. The value has to be something added to it. And that's for you to figure out.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I have another question actually. Um, for copyright licensing, how can the average artist get access to those, or do you have to have the large financial capacity to be able to license your music and protect it from being infringed?
First of all, according to the Copyright Act, your copyright is automatic. You don't need to go and register it before you realize that, oh, you have copyright. Once the work is created and it meets the criteria that the Copyright Act says that, you know, this is the criteria for your work, you have automatic copyright. At some point, when you have money, you can say, oh, I want to register. No, I want to notify the commission that I have this work. But the moment you release the work, your copyright is automatic. That money you pay to make the song, you know, using your tune call, your D pay like $100 or something, and your music is stores across the globe, right? Licensing, the money you spend, that's it. Our entertainment lawyer expensive. Gone are the days that everybody no. I'm a lawyer. I've done it for 50. I want to eat also, and I want my people to eat. So yes, good entertainment lawyer that will look at it and help that your licensing would make money. I need to understand that this industry is not a faff around industry. It's a business. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry, meaning that you will spend money. So let's move away from that mentality of an average person can get things done according to the budget that they have. But coming into it and thinking that you're not going to spend money, you spend money in getting knowledge, you spend money in getting good lawyers to work with you. Gone are the days of complaining that lawyers are too expensive. Lawyers are expensive all over the world. Lawyers are expensive, period. We spent 6 years in school and a lot of money to gain the knowledge. You can't be a lawyer in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. Just like the same way, like, you go and do your coding and you can do it in less than 8 weeks. You can be a certified coder. You can't. So it's expensive. So you need to move away from that mentality of, oh, I need to be pitied. I need to be your assets, the copyrights that you have is a potential either zero or potential either $1,000,000. It's up to you how you treat it to be able to make whatever money that you need to make. So copyright licensing, how easy it is or how cheap it is, depends on the lawyer you go and meet. Do you have automatic copyright? Yes. Once your work
Oh,
is created, do you have copyright? Yes. Can you license it? Yes. It now depends. The person that wants to license from you, do they believe enough to put? For example, now if you go to a distribution company and you see that your colleague got $10,000 and they are not answering you, it's because your numbers are not tallying. Like I explained earlier, for you to get 1,000,000 streams, on YouTube, you probably spend like $5,000. So my question now is that if I'm giving $5,000, what are you going to give me in exchange? What is the potential? What is the unique selling points that I see that I want to put my $5,000?
oh, okay. I think I understand it a lot better. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much, Emmanuel, and thank you, Foza. So we have another question from Michael Okpeyemi. Can you hear me, Foza? Okay. The question said, for dropping a new audio single, is there a blueprint for a new artist to explore? When should a video follow up the audio publishing and distribution? And can a firm handle both publishing and distribution at the same time, or should or such functions should be handled by different firms?
The questions you're asking me are business management questions. So, like I said from the beginning of this thing, there's no hard and fast rule. Some people, for example, when Joe Boy came into the industry, everybody was dropping music videos and it was working. When Joe Boy came, Joe Boy dropped animation video and it worked for him. Then everybody started dropping animation videos. Then it stopped working. Then people started dropping visualizers. Then it stopped working. So, like I said, it is left to you and your team to sit down, especially if you don't have the budget. You have to sit down and be extremely creative in marketing. And there's, like I said, there's no other fast rule. If you want to make a video, fine. If you don't want to make a video, fine. I can't tell you yes or no. I can't tell you this is how to do it. It also depends on a lot of things. It depends on what kind of song are you pushing. Where are you pushing that song from? Is it a street song? If it's a street song, there's no reason why you should be focusing your energy on Apple and Spotify. Street people only use Boomplay and Audiomack. If it's a jazz song, there's no reason why you should be pushing the music on Boomplay, because people that listen to jazz are either on Spotify or on Apple. So these are the things that you put into consideration. Which audience am I talking to? Am I talking to um, between 25 and 35, which I know that they can still afford to go to the club or go to the bar and buy a bottle of wine? Or am I talking to a Gen Z that is begging somebody for credit, right? That's how you know which market am I talking to, and you tailor and you put a product that fits that market. So I can't tell you when a video should follow or whatnot. Can a firm handle both publishing and distribution at the same time? Some people do it. Yes, it works. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. The key thing when you're picking a distribution company or a publishing company is, does this distribution company have the power or have the leverage or have the network to market my style of music or my style of business? So, for example, it's just like fuel stations. If you go to, if you're in Lagos, you see the popular ones: Mobile, NU, Total, blah blah blah. When you go to Abuja, you see AA Rano, you see some weird. For me as a Lagos person, I'll be like, I don't know this one. Oh." If you go to Ondo State, you see completely different um distribution, right? So now, if I'm a oil producer, I want to know that, okay, for me to, first of all, I know that I must give the whole of Nigeria. Then I will now go to Lagos and strike a particular deal. Go to Ondo State and strike a particular deal. However, if Lagos is my main market, it will pay me to strike a deal with Enyo or Mobile as opposed to striking a deal with AA Rano, because Mobile and NU, they have more base in the market I'm trying to penetrate, as opposed to AA Rano that is in Abuja, and I'm not looking for Abuja audience. So you need to study the company, look at their client roster, look at the success of those people, the clients that they've worked with, and now say, okay, I want to work with this person like this, like this, like that. So that's how you choose the companies you work with.
Okay, thank you very much. Hope your question was answered, Michael Okwemi. Okay, so sorry, Foza, we have one last question before we'll go, and that is from GB Chris. GB Chris, please ask your question so that we can round up. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My question is just one question. How do you find publishers? If as a person, I write a lot of songs, so how can I find publishers? Thank you very much.
Um, so because we have very limited few publishers in Africa as it is right now, what you want to do is, first of all, ensure that you yourself, you're registered with your PRO, which is your COSON, your MCSN, or whatever, and make sure that you even if you don't have a publishing company yet, make sure that you're registering your songs on those platforms, and make sure that as you're releasing them, you're registering them. Now, most times publishers come to look for you because they've seen the success of what you've done, or they send out A&R people to different places to listen to music and find music or scout for music. Now that option used to be what they used to do before, but now It's like everybody has very limited budget, so that isn't really what the model is. So what I usually would advise to do is you and your team make a list of publishing companies that fit the agenda of what you are looking for, and start looking for key people in those companies and pitching your songs to them. That's a practical tip. It can take 1 year, it can take 2 years, it might not even work, but that's a practical tip of how it can work.
Okay, thank you. GB Chris, was your question answered? Okay, thank you very much, everyone. We have come to the end of today's class. Thank you, Foza, for the wonderful session.
Thank you
And
guys.
yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. And yeah, you will hear from us from the group chat. Thank you for joining today's class, and do have a wonderful day ahead.